to nutrition, vital nutrition needed by so many of the families who live here. But it is a crisis that has been brought on by the government shutdown. And I'd like to make a comment on that, and then in terms of describing where we are, briefly comment on the judge's decision that came out within the last half hour, and then allow my friends, my colleagues here, both elected and representatives of the Central California Food Bank and the Fresno Metro Ministry Centers, and a lot of the coalition partners that are trying to respond to this crisis that we find ourselves in today. But let me begin by again saying thank you to the Central Valley Food Bank for all the work you do every day on behalf of the 5 counties that you cover in trying to provide food to those who are most in need. As the congressional representative representing a large portion of Fresno and Tulare counties, and a member of the House Agriculture Committee, I will tell you that every hearing that we hold in Washington, D.C. with the House Agriculture Committee, I try to make the point that food is a national security issue. It really is. I mean, we don't tend to think about this in that way because we live here in our valley and we have this incredible production of agricultural productivity, but yet we have the dichotomy that 400 commodities that we grow, 44% of our agriculture being exported, yet we have, in my congressional district, 400 and we have almost 30%, let me get this clear to all of you. In my congressional district, about 30% of the constituents I represent are food insecure and reliant on SNAP, food supplemental benefits to feed their families every night. And so when you add that number up to the 6 congressional districts here, we're talking about almost 600,000 people. Or to put a perspective on that, about the population of the city of Fresno. And we have the mayor here and a council member who will go on to describe that. I mean, the city of Fresno is the 5th largest city in California. So why are we in this position? Because we've had an unwillingness to have an agreement with our Republican colleagues on the shutdown of government, now extending for 31 days. The record is 35 days that was under the first Trump administration, and if we don't produce a resolution by next week, we will break that record, sadly. It's irresponsible not to fund government. It's hurtful to American people and to our economy. But the bill that was passed in July, the big bill, it wasn't beautiful for me, but cut $300 billion of supplemental nutritional assistance program over the next decade, making it the largest cut in the food nutrition program in its history. And that reflects even supplemental funding. Currently, there's $5 to $7 billion of supplemental funding that the administration could provide that would extend beyond October 31st. Today's the end of the deadline for recipient of SNAP benefits. But yet they have money in the contingency fund that they could spend that for that purpose, and they're choosing not to. Now, by the way, the authority for that, the judge ruled this morning that the USDA does have the authority. The judge ruled this morning that the United States Department of Agriculture does have the authority to expend the supplemental funding, that contingency money, into the month of November to provide needy families the funding, the food that they need. But yet they have chosen not to. This was on the website for the United States Department of Agriculture up until 6 days ago. And I want to make sure that the press understands it. It basically says, and the judge reaffirmed that the Office Management Budget General Counsel provided a letter to USDA on May 23rd that there is a bona fide need to obligate benefits for October and the first month of the fiscal year. That begins tomorrow. Prior to the month of September, thereby guaranteeing the benefit of funds are available for the program operations, even in the event of government shutdown. Even in the event of government shutdown. Congressional intent is that evident that the staff's operation should continue the program and provide with multi-year contingency funds so that they can be used for the state emergency expenses, state administrative expenses. The governor yesterday announced $80 million for women's, infants, and children. But that these multi-year contingency funds are also available to fund participant benefits in effect if there's a lapse in the middle of the fiscal year to fulfill the congressional intent. It's necessary that we limit the number of efforts in this nature, and the judge has asked today that the United States Department of Agriculture by Monday explain how they're going to do that. So I will, with anxious anticipation as I leave back for Washington on Monday morning, be seeking to see what happens. But let me just close, and I'll turn it over to my colleagues here to comment, to put a face of this picture locally, because the responsible members of the media, you have the story that you have to report. And let me tell you what the story is from my perspective. It's just that millions of Americans across the country, 42 million Americans that are reliant for their safety net on SNAP. But this decision will impact 30% of my constituents in my district. 30%. That's over 67,000 people, 230,000 homes that rely on SNAP putting at least a partial or a regular weekly benefit of food on their family's dinner table. What do these households look like? These 67 households. 60% include at least one child. 34% include at least one elderly person. And 46% of those households have a person who has a disability. In total, that's over 131,000 residents in my congressional district. Their neighbors, their veterans, their seniors, their children, working families, people with disabilities. In the 6 congressional districts in our valley, my colleagues, the other 5 congressionals, we're talking about a total of over 600,000, almost 700,000 people. Again, about the size of the city of Fresno. So let me have some of our colleagues put a descriptive on this. Let me begin with our good friend whose facility we're at here, Natalie. Make some comments. Caples, you've seen her be a constant voice, an advocate for food security as the leader of the Central Valley California Food Bank representing 5 counties. I'll then turn it over to the mayor, Natalie Caples, CEO for the Central California Food Bank. Natalie?
Thank you, Congressman. Morning, everybody. So as we are nearing the end of the 5th week of the government shutdown, the toll on Central California families is growing. Federal workers miss their first full paycheck on October 29th, and November 1st is right around the corner where the SNAP benefit cliff awaits nearly 660,000 neighbors in our 5-county service area who utilize SNAP every single month to feed themselves and their families. We've been seeing the impact of the shutdown for a while, but the level of anxiety and concern that we've been seeing over the SNAP benefits funding has really multiplied over the last week. Member partners of ours are reporting increases at their food pantries and food distributions. The amount of neighbors calling into our physical facility has increased over 100%. And website traffic through our Find Food locator has increased over 60% in the last week. One thing I want to make very clear is that Central California Food Bank and our member partners are resourceful, we are resilient, and we're dedicated, and we're prepared to address the impacts of the continued shutdown and the SNAP benefit cliff that starts November 1st for the short term. This is what food banks are created to do. We are there to respond in emergency situations, with the caveat that SNAP, or here in California, CalFresh, is the most efficient and effective anti-hunger tool that this country has, and it keeps millions of Americans and hundreds of thousands of Central California neighbors out of poverty. For every one meal that Central California Food Bank distributes through our programming or through our member partners, SNAP provides 9. And in the long term, we cannot fill the gap that roughly $123 million in monthly benefits will leave in our communities and in families' fridges and pantries. And two things can be true at the same time. We are here, we're prepared to support neighbors during this critical time, and we can do what we can to be able to meet the need, but the gap is so great that we can't fill it alone. We need everyone that's capable to be able to step forward and stand with us in the moment. I'm thankful for all of those partners who have proactively reached out, understanding what a pivotal point we are during the course of the month, to see how they can support food insecure neighbors, how they can support our member partner pantries, and how they can support us. But really, we need everybody in our community that's capable to meet us in this exact moment to serve our neighbors. And we do need Congress to end the shutdown and fully fund SNAP benefits for November. I'm thankful for the opportunity. I'm thankful for the work that you do in Congress and the priorities that you're pushing, both in the Agriculture Committee and elevating and raising awareness about this critical SNAP benefits cliff. And I'm thankful to our partners at the city, who I think will call up next, who understand the importance of meeting the moment and doing what they can to be able to serve their community. So thank you.
Thank you. Natalie, for all the good work you do, and obviously during this time of crisis. We held a workshop just before you arrived here. We had local, state, and federal participants here. And while it's not normally the responsibility of the city of Fresno or the counties to implement the food assistance programs, we have a community, we have a valley that steps up and comes together when you're in a crisis situation. And so I'm very pleased to have the mayor of the city of Fresno, who is reflective of that can-do attitude, along with Council Member Nelson Esparza. And I'd like to have first Mayor Jerry Dyer give you his passionate, heartfelt comments on what the city's going to try to do during this crisis that we're dealing with.
Thank you very, very much, Congressman, and thank you for hosting the roundtable, bringing us all together this morning, all the leaders from Fresno County, Fresno City, as well as the service providers that we have in our community. And I do want to say thank you to Natalie Caples from the Central California Food Bank. They are an incredible partner. If I don't know what we would do without you in our city, and the same holds true with our Fresno Metro Ministry as well as Central La Familia, and of course our county partners. So thank you very much. Some may call this the perfect storm, but I call it a man-made disaster caused by the federal government. And a government shutdown resulting in federal workers not being paid, SNAP funds not being distributed to those in need, and food banks facing the concern of not having enough food on their shelves to meet this pressing need. Some say this is a Republican problem, some say this is a Democrat problem, but the simple fact is it's a problem. And it really doesn't. Children, seniors, and veterans are being used as a political football. This is not and should not be how we treat our most vulnerable populations within our community. This is the United States of America, and we can do better than what we're doing. Yet, here we are. And I'm not willing, as the mayor, to play a game of chicken to see who blinks first. And I know Council Member Esparza is not either. Not when it comes to allowing our children and seniors to go hungry. We know that kids do not do very well in school when they're hungry. And we know that some of our most vulnerable seniors could die from malnutrition. And so it angers me as the mayor to know that we're in this position today. But anger, unfortunately, doesn't solve the problem. And that's why Council Member Esparza, who has been a champion for this cause, and I will be bringing forth a resolution to the City Council next Thursday on November 6th to allocate $250,000 to the Central California Food Bank. And I might add that $50,000 of that is coming from Council Member Esparza's district budget. And I can't say thank you enough, Nelson, for making that happen. I think that is something that you'll always be remembered by in our community. And we know that the food bank can put this money to good use during this time of uncertainty. And regardless of what the judge has ruled, or regardless of what USDA does, I think what we need to do in our community is plan for the worst and hope for the best. And that's why we're going to be providing these funds to the food bank. And I'm also calling on the people of Fresno and throughout the valley to really step up, just as all of you did during the pandemic, and to provide funding to our food bank and to all of our nonprofits that serve our most vulnerable populations. And I'm also asking that the administration does step forward and release the important funds that we need to continue providing SNAP. We owe it to our seniors, we owe it to our veterans, we owe it to our children, especially as we near the Thanksgiving holiday. And it would and should break all of our hearts to know that as we approach Thanksgiving, that we have people in this community facing the uncertainty of whether or not they're even going to have food on their table during that time. I'll turn it back over to Congressman Costa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for always being there for our community and being a partner that I rely on. Councilmember Nelson Esparza is a same kind of a partner and friend, and please share with us your thoughts.
The city, the county, all of our nonprofit partners, and for the productive roundtable I think we had this morning. There's a lot of need in our community that goes without saying, and right now that's also compounded by a lot of anxiety and concern within our community. We're hearing that directly from residents. We're concerned about the expiration, non-renewal of their SNAP benefits, the CalFresh benefits. And so as much awareness as there is, really the horrifying reality is there are still families on Sunday who will go to the grocery store on Sunday and find out the hard way that those benefits were not renewed for this month. And that's it's truly heartbreaking. And it's hard to think about and wrap our heads around. There will be folks at the grocery store on Sunday who go to the store and their card's not going to work. And I've had the personal opportunity to work with a lot of these families directly, not only in my capacity as a city council member, but long ago as a young rank and file county worker whose job it was to distribute these very, very benefits. I've never forgotten those families and never forgotten their stories. And so, yesterday or this week, by and large, seeing how our congressman has been mobilizing, in addition to a phone call from my own mother yesterday, who called and wanted to ask how she could help. She called and said, Nelson, see what's going on. I have a lot of stuff in my pantry I'd love to clear out. I'd love to help a couple families with their Thanksgiving dinners this month. Please let me know. And so, it's just, I see everybody around me moving, and remember these families and these stories, and that really compelled me to try and dig deep and figure out, what could our city government do? What could we do as city leaders to try and help this cause? I know that when you think of City Hall, you don't typically think of city services as providing food, a little bit out of the scope, but we do step up when the community is in need, and we find creative ways. And so as I was thinking through yesterday at our city council meeting, I was a little distracted thinking about this at the council meeting. I thought, well, at least we could do, at least I could do, is contribute $50,000 from our operating budget towards the Central California Food Bank's efforts as them and all of the nonprofits within our community scramble to try and feed families here in Fresno and throughout the valley. Additionally, after that commitment, I went over to the mayor. He was standing in the chambers. I said, we got to do something. We got to do something bigger. I'm going to do this, but we've got to amplify it. We've got to reach more people than we originally were. And so, right away, the mayor said, hey, let me know what we can do. And we put our heads together, and we came up with another $200,000 that we'll be bringing forward to the city council on Thursday, as the mayor had noted. So, between these two pots of funds, the city of Fresno is going to be contributing $250,000 to the Central California Food Bank, and they are a mightily efficient organization that produces up to a million meals. $1 can go up to 4 meals. And so, and for their work, I think we've done the easy part just with a few dollars, but they're working hard, and all of our nonprofits here in Fresno are working very, very hard. And so, while some politicians in DC continue to hold food hostage and continue to hold healthcare hostage from some of our most vulnerable communities, we here in the Valley are coming together with our congressmen in partnership and collaboration to mitigate that impact and ensure that folks have something to eat when November 1st rolls around. Again, I want to thank our congressman for bringing this together, and thank the mayor for partnering with our office on making this contribution happen and keeping our Fresno families going. Thank you.
Thank you. I personally want to thank the city of Fresno for standing up and providing the leadership that you've just witnessed. We're going to close with having Sanjay Bogay, the Director of Department of Social Services, talk about the county's role in this effort, as well as Margarita Rocha, who's helped host us here with Central La Familia, and take questions that members of the press may have. But I've just been handed by my staff a second court ruling that occurred here within minutes. Let me read it for you. The federal court on Friday has ordered the Trump administration to pay for food stamps during the government shutdown, period. The ruling issued by the bench Judge John McConnell of the U.S. District Court of the District of Rhode Island sided with nonprofits and other groups and told the Trump administration it must distribute aid using the set of emergency funds and other potential sources and pay the benefits as soon as possible, ASAP. And it must also do this in a way that continues a continuum, and some of us have maintained the requirement of law under the federal proceedings that we must do what is under the law. So I think the courts clearly in two different decisions have ruled decisively today. Let me have Sanjay Bogay, now the Director of the Department of Social Services, give the perspective of how the county is trying to work with all of us here to try to provide this support, and then we'll close with Margarita Rocha. Sanjay?
Thank you, Congressman Costa, and thank you for the opportunity to share some of the factual information and what we know. I appreciate getting the up-to-date invites. And I want to start by saying Fresno County works in partnership with many of these organizations, so I want to really acknowledge the conversation and support. So we're all both sharing the information but partnering really well together in how to provide information and provide support to families who are truly impacted by the shutdown. So I'm going to start by sharing with you some of the impacts in Fresno County. 1 out of every 4 of our residents receives CalFresh. So that's about 250,000 people in Fresno County, and on a monthly basis, this is 128,000 households, and within the first 10 days of every month, about $46 million in benefits goes out for food for families. That's about $355 per family, but it's a $46 million impact in our community. So what I want our families to know, what's going to happen tomorrow, and we're going to keep our information updated on our website. So Fresno County Department of Social Services website has a DSS announcement page. As information changes, this is where we're implementing or posting our information on a daily basis with any updates. So we're going to find out what really the impact from the court decisions will be. But what we're expecting today, absent the court decision, is that benefits that normally would be available to families for November will not be there tomorrow. Benefits that actually went out for October are not impacted. So if individuals and families still have on their EBT cards any remaining dollars, those are available to be used. In grocery stores and vendors where those benefits are used, once the benefits are transacted, those dollars will be available. I want to make sure that people understand that this is not a cancellation of benefits. If, in fact, tomorrow the money is not there for November, benefits are not canceled. People are still eligible. It's just a matter of funding not being there. It's a significant impact, but I want to make sure that people know that if they need to submit documentation, they still want to apply for benefits. Our eligibility workers, our staff that process benefits, they're still there. We're still receiving documents or approving benefits. None of that changes, so that's important for our community members and families to know that any of the daily things that we need to do, we're still doing, and that as soon as the shutdown is over, the benefits will be available. If emergency funding can be used, it means that nothing changes. But from our perspective, it's really important to know that as the information changes, we're going to be sharing it on our website. We really appreciate the partnerships with food banks and with every community-based organization that's there to distribute food, that we're going to be sharing those resources as well. The most common questions that we get is what's happening with my food stamp benefits, and then where can I, in the meantime, where do I find food? So we're distributing those same resources so people know where to locate their food. Again, thank you for the opportunity and for the partnership, and really appreciate that we're coming together as a community in order to respond. So any information that we can share, we will keep posting it and ensure that what we know gets updated. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay, and I do believe that with the judge's ruling that I just shared with you, that the administration will be legally compelled to provide the funding, but there may be a gap, there may be a delay, and we're here to respond to that, to this safety net that is so critical to the people who live in this valley in our country. And Marguerite Rocha will talk to you about how critical that continued support is. Marguerite Rocha, it's Los Central for me, familiar.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank the congressmen and all the representatives, our government representatives that are here to bring attention to the community, the seriousness of what our families are facing. As a community-based organization, as the director of Central La Familia, we on a daily basis see families with a multitude of needs, and one of them is always food. And while they're sometimes security because they are eligible for CalFresh or SNAP, any delay on those services being provided creates a really big void, because they're already on a very strict budget, and so part of the consideration when they don't have access to this type of support, meaning food, they have to make decisions on whether they're going to get gas for the car, or can they get to the doctor? One of the things that this is a consequence of is people who are on medication and need to have a diet and don't have access to food is going to interfere with their health in a multitude of ways. It also creates a crack in their system because of other things that could evolve. We are very concerned that I see families on a weekly basis coming in the food line, and that we get to a point where we have to cut off and say we no longer have any food, and we have to turn families away. That is the most devastating thing for me to see when these are moms and children and their dads and seniors that walk to our center and then walk. So I am racist because we're all having to be responsible for what happens to our fragile community. And so thank you, Congressman, for the opportunity to bring attention, and hopefully that we are able to resolve this issue quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Marguerite, for the good work you do. And we'll take questions now by members of the press. We also have the Fresno Metro Ministry here that will be available to answer questions that you may have directed to them. And Fresno Unified School District, which is the third largest school district in California, and it has its own food kitchen that provides something in the order of 55,000 lunches daily at 100 school sites and 17,000 breakfasts. So they're available to answer questions you might have. Who would like to begin with the first question? We've answered all your questions? Well, thank you. This is an ongoing story. It's an ongoing crisis, and we very much want to ensure that our local press here is fully informed of the details of the efforts that are ongoing to address this crisis and to bring together local, state, and federal efforts to respond and hopefully get government funded again so that we don't have any questions as to the importance of providing every American in this country and those who live in our valley the necessary nutrition that they need to exist. I mean, it is a national issue. Food is a security issue, and in the richest nation in the world, it is absolutely unconscionable that we not provide food to every segment of our society and to every person in America. It's beyond, I think, any reasonable level of consciousness that we would allow in the richest country in America, again, I'll repeat myself, to go without adequate nutrition on a daily basis. And that's why we're all here doing everything we can to make sure that, in fact, they do have the necessary food they need to sustain themselves. Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you here. We've got more work to do.